March 9th, 1997, Los Angeles, California. On this day 25 years ago, one of rap's biggest icons, the notorious B.I.G, aka Biggie Smalls, aka Big Papa, aka Christopher Wallace, was shot and murdered outside of the Peterson Automotive Museum at 12:45 on this day. As you may know, I have been fighting tooth and nail trying to gather all the evidence that many cops, sleuths, and well-known figures have presented. I have been trying to solve this case myself. And like the great YouTuber I am going to take you guys on the ride for this wild, wild case that has twists and turns and different theories, seems like every day. But for the past 25 years, there's not been one arrest. There has only been a few theories here and there, and no one can seem to put the pieces together. Well, now I'm the one that's here to do it. And I already explained how I'm going to do it. But today, being the day, the sad day where we lost a true icon, a true GOAT of the music world, I figured I would go through the murders from beginning to end. The murder from beginning to end. I will talk about Tupac's a bit later, but I got to do Biggie's today. And in another video, I will talk about what led up to both of their murders. So you know what to do. Please like and subscribe. Comment on what you think your take is on this entire case, because I am now an internet sleuther. I got my Nets gear, repping Biggie's team, the Brooklyn Nets. I know that would be his team, especially now that they're somewhat pretty good. I know they're kind of struggling here and there, but I got to represent Biggie Smalls, one of my favorite rappers of all time. So let's dive right into it without further ado. March 7th, Puff and Biggie attend the Soul Train Music Awards with tension still high. Let's not forget Tupac died in September 96. Not even a year later, they're promoting his new album in California, basically trying to make amends. Not going to California to truly stir anything up, just trying to make amends. He announced a winner at one of the categories of the Soul Train Awards, and was mixed with a different perception of boos and cheers. However, backstage, there was a small scuffle between Bad Boy security and the Fruit of Islam, because the Fruit of Islam confronted them about, hey, why are you guys disrespecting our brothers in the East, referring to Bad Boy? Well, that caused to get Puffy's attention. Puffy went backstage. He's very close with Louis Farrakhan and Mustafa Farrakhan, the leaders of the Fruit of Islam, and basically was just trying to calm everything down, saying, you cool? Like, I thought we were cool. We good? So that happened. Nothing too big, but it happened. Could play a big role in the murder itself. Then Biggie was on the phone with his mom the next day, that being today, 25 years ago today, and he was talking with his mother, saying how he has LA cops protecting him. More on that a bit later, but I thought that was very interesting how an LA cop would protect a rapper or someone that is not within their jurisdiction per se, because I'm going to go into a video on how corrupt the LAPD is and how corrupt the LAPD was, especially back in the day. So that happened, and then they attend the Vibe magazine party at the Peterson Auto Museum. It may as well have been an album release party. I mean, everyone was there, it seemed like, from Missy Elliott to Whitney Houston to the Wayans brothers, Chris Tucker, many NBA celebrities / athletes. I mean, the place was lit. Literally, everyone was there, including some gang members, but more on that later. The party got wild, and there was 10 securities on site. Extremely weird, but I don't think they anticipated the party to get as big as it was. There was rowdiness outside, along with known gang members. There's a lot of, gangster rap in the mid 90s and late 80s and even early 90s presented a lot of gangsterness within its inner circle and the rap world. So big point that you guys should pay attention to later and really follow as I continue to talk through the murders and events and different controversies and clues. Then the party gets shut down at 11 p.m. by the fire marshal. Someone made a call out to the fire marshal. They shut down the party, and it truly shut down around midnight. It took the fire marshal about an hour to get everyone clear and to get the word spread out on that the party needed to be shut down. It was a safety hazard. It was not that the cops or anyone was trying to be a buzzkill. It was just a safety matter at that point. Then we got shots fired at 12:05 a.m. on 8th and Orange Grove Avenue, southeast corner of the Peterson. And what happened was a black Ford Bronco was seen leaving the area. Gunshots were heard. And many people thought, hey, those could be diversion shots to the murder. Well, there's actually a logical explanation. A guy that was at the party went to get into his car and dropped his gun. Well, it was a gun that was very special to him and very special in general. He decided to fire it in the air to see if it was still working. So with that being said, it had nothing to do with the actual murder itself. So as everyone's leaving, getting into their cars, Biggie's getting into his entourage, and they're trying to get away from the party. It's all scattering everywhere. They're trying to figure out where to go next. Eugene Deal notices a suspect guy, a guy dressed like the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam being the scuffle that they had with Bad Boy Security the evening prior. Eugene Deal described them as him being black, wearing a blue suit, white shirt, and a blue bow tie. Gray jacket, gray blazer. You get the idea. So he was wearing a suit with a blue bow tie. And that's all we really see. That's the big clue we get as far as, okay, there was one person mad dogging them, and there was another person that Eugene Deal saw mad dogging them that was dressed like a Nation of Islam character. So they have bad blood, but not too much bad blood, as Biggie was cool with them, Puffy was cool with them. So it'd be a little odd as to why a Nation of Islam person would kill Biggie. So in Biggie's entourage, there's 3 SUVs. There's a green Suburban with Puffy Combs, a.k.a. Sean Combs, a.k.a. P. Diddy, being in the passenger seat. I don't know why I lisped there. And in the back, there's 3 bodyguards, including Eugene Deal. In the second car, the green Suburban, carrying Biggie Smalls in the passenger seat. The driver was Gregory G. Money Young. And Lil Cease and other people of Biggie's entourage were in the back. And in the third car, the Chevy Blazer, a driver named Reggie Blaylock, who was a Compton school cop, was, driving. And in the other passenger seat was Paul Offord, the head of security for Bad Boy Records. So when he meant by I have cops protecting me, he meant Paul Offord, and he meant Reggie Blaylock, Compton school security person. Now they're driving up on Wilshire. They're driving up on Fairfax. And a white SUV pulls in to cut off the third car. So it was Puffy's car that ran to make the light. It was Biggie in the second car, and the white SUV was cutting off Paul Offord and Reggie Blaylock in that third car. He sped up to not get cut off by the car and was able to kind of swerve the car to get back in formation with Biggie's Caravan. Who was in that white SUV? Nobody really knows, but I will reveal that later in another video. So as soon as that happens, and as soon as the third SUV who got cut off by the white SUV gets back into formation, a black Chevy Impala fires into Biggie's door 4 times, exactly 6 times. I've heard conflicting reports on whether he fired 9 times, whether he fired 5 times. The amount of times that he fired, though, was definitely less than 10. After he fires, he makes a right on Wilshire, and according to Eugene Deal from a Vlad TV interview, he and the car that he's in, as Puffy got out to run towards the car that Biggie was in, as everyone was screaming and everyone was like, who got shot? A lot of commotion and pandemonium was going on. Puffy got out of the car and Puffy ran towards Biggie's car. Meanwhile, in the interview that Gene Deal had with Vlad TV, he was saying that he chased the car, the Impala. He saw the Impala and they took chase to it. But the reason why they didn't catch it is because the car that they were driving had one of those government chips. So every time the car went up to 100 miles an hour, it went back down to like 60 or 50. So they go up and they go down. And by the time they got to the hill on Wilshire, to take a right to try and keep up with the guy, he was already gone. He disappeared into the night. So that happened. Biggie got shot right there. The shooter fired 4 or 5. He fired 4 to 9 times. 4 of those bullets hit Biggie, with the fatal shot entering the torso and entering an upward trajectory, hitting his heart and lung. And there was pandemonium at the scene. There was rumors that Biggie could have already been dead at the scene. His eyes were wide open, tongue was hanging out of his mouth, and he was in a state of shock, in a state of disbelief, and his entourage was trying tooth and nail to get their friend to the hospital. They took him to Cedars-Sinai Hospital. What Biggie was shot with was a semi-automatic pistol, and they rushed to the hospital. Of course, 911 calls were dispatched, and they went to the nearest hospital, which was Cedars-Sinai. They got there. It took 6 people to lift Biggie onto a gurney and onto a surgical table, because that's how big he was, no pun intended. And it was there at about 1:15, Biggie was pronounced dead at Cedars-Sinai. Lots to take in. Lots to take in. And immediately after that, people woke up to the news that, oh man, Biggie died. Tupac just died. Within the span of a year, the rap world and music world and hip-hop world just lost 2 of its biggest icons, 2 of the greatest rappers, 2 of the biggest artists of our time. And no one knew who did it. I know you watch those shows, First 48, and they got to catch the perpetrators in the first 48 hours. And that's what the cops were trying to do. And you're not going to solve a murder in the first 2 days, let alone a week. So what made the cops be so hesitant, I'll discuss in a later video. However, no one was going to know who did it in the first 48 hours. No one was going to know who did it in the first week. No one was going to know who did it in the first 2 weeks. So people were at a loss of words. People were stuck. And people were absolutely befuddled on how this could happen. But all fingers and all theories pointed towards Suge Knight, who was in prison. Now, that doesn't mean anything. Suge Knight is a very powerful man. And if he wants to touch you, you will be touched, no matter where he's at. He could be in Florida, and he'll make something happen in LA with the snap of a fingers. That guy, and I don't mean to sound funny, I mean this in every sense of the word. That guy was the closest thing we have had to Thanos if you were involved in anything gangsta or anything rap in the mid-90s. It's just that truthful. So, after the announcement of Biggie passing, March 19th, Biggie's body gets flown back to Brooklyn, aka Bed-Stuy. His funeral happens, and there's mixing reports. He has a little caravan driving down the streets, the borough of Brooklyn. There's mixing reports on, man, what the heck is going on? There's violence erupting, but yet there's cheers. But yet a few people got arrested, but yet more people are laughing and crying, and it's a very jovial experience. It was one of the weirdest funerals ever for a celebrity. And Puffy gave the eulogy. Faith Evans sang in, of course, a beautiful moniker and beautiful tone of I'll Be Missing You, and a few other songs that she sung with Biggie Smalls, a.k.a. her husband, and a father to their son, CJ. A week later after his death, Life After Death comes out, which is the album that Biggie was promoting. And by the way, to backtrack a little bit, at the party at the Peterson Automotive Museum, the single Hypnotize came out March 4th, so about 4 or 5 days before he died. Hypnotize came out, and they were bumping it nonstop that entire day. They were just bumping. People were vibing. It was one of the most played songs on the radio before and after his death. So, and that song being on his new album at that time, Life After Death, sold 10 million copies in the US and was nominated for 3 Grammys. So it comes to that old adage that someone is as worth more dead as they are alive. And with that being said, it has led to one of the most unsolved, most theorized case in U.S. history, in Los Angeles history, in California history, and it is probably one of the most popular unsolved murder case of our time. So I took you guys into what happened that night. So you guys make your own pick. I just wanted to give you guys an explanation, kind of a backstory as to what I'll be looking for. So stay tuned for the next video and join me on this journey on finding out who shot Biggie Smalls, because I'm going to be the one that solves it, and I guarantee you I will expose some things that have never been exposed. It's been 25 years. Not many people know about this. The younger generation don't really know who Biggie Smalls is and don't really know the implications and the impact that this has had on not only my life, but many other people's lives that have grown up in the 90s, grown up in the 80s, and they are looking for answers, and I'm going to be the one to give it to them. So buckle up, strap in, here we go. That was part 1, went over the murders. Hope you guys enjoyed it, because there is going to be a lot more to come. And I cannot wait to see everyone's mind be absolutely blown when I find out who shot Biggie Smalls and Tupac Amaru Shakur.